Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Lynn Cardell. I'm a registered dietitian. Tonight we have Haley Thiel. She is a dietetic intern at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. She's going to be presenting today on a breakfast, a healthy start to your day. If you have any questions, there is a questions tab that you can ask questions throughout the webinar. There is also 5 handouts that Haley will talk about in the handouts tab. I encourage you to download those handouts before you get off the webinar, before you end the webinar on your end. And at the end of the webinar, there will be a survey that will pop up. The survey is required in order for you to receive your certificate of hours for today's webinar, which will be an hour webinar. And there will also be several polls throughout the webinar that we do require you to complete and participate in order for us to verify that you were in attendance and an active participant. And once that it's verified that you attended the webinar, that you completed the polls and the survey, we will send out a certificate to your email. If you have not received a certificate from me in the past, check your spam or your junk folder. I will be sending out the certificates by tomorrow at 7 p.m. And if you don't receive them, you can always send me an email. But before you do that, please check your junk or your spam to make sure that, that it's not caught in there. So I'm going to pass it over to Haley. This is kind of new for us to do this remotely, so please bear with us as far as trying to figure out the technical aspects of this. Haley is online, so if there's a little bit of a jag in communication, please just let us know and we will try to figure that out as best we can. So Haley, if you want to just introduce yourself and start the webinar.
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Thiel, and like Mary said, I am a dietetic intern for UNL. A little bit of background on me. I'm from Wahoo originally. Grew up as a 3-sport athlete, came to Nebraska on a golf scholarship and competed on the women's golf team. And then I declared dietetics as my major. So I'm currently, I got accepted into UNL's internship and grad school program. So I'm currently working on my master's and working on completing my internship. So I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I hope you're all staying warm. And with that, we'll get started. So my presentation is titled Breakfast, a Healthy Start to Your Day. And I'll be communicating with Mary so we know when to switch over to the next slides and present. So Mary, I'm ready to switch the slide. Okay. So our main objectives that I'm going to be presenting over tonight are, number 1 is the importance of children eating breakfast. So we're going to look at why this is important for all children and go into some of the components of a healthy breakfast. So that brings us to our second objective. What are some things that we can include in a healthy breakfast and what to look for? And then the third objective that we're going to be touching on is some examples of simple recipes, which we have provided as well. So there's 5 handouts that you're going to receive that I actually created myself, but also used some recipes online. So we hope you like those. And then we will also address some cost-saving tips. Okay, slide. Okay, so we're going to start out here with a poll to begin. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how comfortable are you yourself in knowing what a healthy breakfast for kids looks like? So just select one answer, and then I'll give you a minute to answer, and then we'll move on. Okay, thank you guys. All right, switch to the next slide here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it looks like we have a little bit of a variety, which is good. That's why I'm here. And it looks like everybody kind of has a comfort level of not exactly sure to being kind of okay with knowing what a healthy breakfast is, but nobody's 100% sure, and that's okay. We're going to look at that, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll have a better idea. Okay, next slide. Okay, so that right into our first point, the importance of eating breakfast. Okay, so starting off, you might ask, why is breakfast so important? So you often hear people say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I'm going to tell you some reasons why that this is often the case. So our brains require food as fuel, just like our muscles do. So our muscles can use stored energy from food that we ate yesterday, but our brain needs energy constantly just from the food that we eat recently. So if we are not able to provide our brains with this type of energy and this food, then our glucose stores will deplete and our blood sugar, like our fuel level, and our concentration and alertness will also decrease. So these are all things that we need to get us, that children especially need throughout their day as they learn and associate with their environments. So eating breakfast is the fuel that helps our blood sugar levels return to normal after a long time of sleeping and not eating. So on the next slide, we'll look a little bit more into why that's important, because breakfast breaks the fast. So it's kind of catchy like that. When we're sleeping, usually most children or kids are sleeping for anywhere from 8 to 12 hours during the night. Some may get less, some get more. So that is a long period of time without eating. So the first thing that they should do when they get up in the morning, before they go off to play or before they go to school or before they go to daycare, is that they need to wake up, get something to eat, have a healthy, nutritious breakfast so that their body can start functioning and moving and associating with everyone the way that it's meant to be. Okay, next slide. Okay, so some benefits of eating breakfast. We touched on this a little bit in the last slide, but according to the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, children who eat a healthful and well-balanced breakfast are more likely to experience these things. So first, they're going to get more of the daily nutrient requirements that they need. So when you think of your daily nutrient requirement, this is over the course of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and also snacks. So if they do not eat breakfast, they're already going to be skipping out on a meal or a time of day when they should be getting those nutrients. Children who eat breakfast are more likely to eat healthier overall because they're not as tempted to snack or get hungry later in the day. So they have just a well-balanced meal in the morning. It gets them off to a great start. They'll have more balanced meals. So instead of overindulging and having a big lunch or a bigger dinner because they're so hungry, being able to eat breakfast will keep them full for a while throughout the morning, to where they can then eat what looks like a normal or well-balanced lunch and then dinner. So they're able to spread it out more throughout the day. It'll lower their blood cholesterol levels because they're not eating as much junk food or snack food. And then next slide.
Doesn't it also help with blood sugar control? If we have breakfast in the morning, it helps with manage our blood sugar control throughout the day.
It does. Yep. So one of the things, like children especially, it's really tough sometimes to not have their blood sugar levels spike. Children have a lot of energy. Sometimes if children are eating candy and pop and all sorts of unhealthy foods, then those blood sugar levels are going to rise, and then they're going to have a ton of energy, and they're going to be all wound up, and then they're going to crash. So this obviously isn't as functional, or this isn't as good for them if they're trying to function during the school day or while they're playing and learning. So we want them to try and keep consistent and lower blood sugar levels as possible. So a healthy breakfast is the way that we can do that. Also, here are some other interesting facts that I've researched. Eating breakfast leads to higher test scores and better performance since they're able to concentrate and focus better because they have a full and satisfied stomach rather than being hungry and feeling like they need to eat all the time. So they're able to concentrate more on what they're doing, as well as retain information and have better problem solving skills. It also leads, another interesting fact was having a healthy breakfast in the morning also relates to having less absences from school, because most times if parents or health care or daycare providers are able to provide them with a healthy breakfast, they're able to get into a better routine. So they just know, I'm going to eat breakfast, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to go to school or go to daycare, and that's their routine. Children who eat breakfast are also more likely to participate in physical activity and sports because they have those energy levels sustained throughout the day. They're able to be more active because they have that fuel, again, that can get them throughout their day. They're more alert, more creative, and oftentimes experience a happier mood throughout the day because, like I said, they're not as hungry or as crabby, and then they have fewer behavioral problems. So all of these things are great things that we'd like to see from our kids, and it all starts with eating a healthy breakfast.
It sounds like some of them aren't able to see the slides. So we're trying to figure out why they aren't able to see the slides. If you're not able to see the slides, send me a message so we can kind of figure out if the slides are not going through. Okay, so I'll have you keep talking, Haley, and we'll see if we can get the slides changed. The slides.
Okay. Keep going.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm good to go to the next slide if you are.
Okay, let's see. What is? There it goes. Okay. So the next slide, let's see if this will. Is this your next slide?
I think go back one,
right there.
Possibly. Yep, and then go back one more again. Okay, go forward. Then we're good. Yep. Okay, so another benefit, a really big key benefit of kids eating a healthy breakfast is that it will help them maintain a healthy weight. So this is a term that we want to be very careful with around kids. We would like to really avoid trying to use the words weight and healthy and overweight. We want to try and avoid those words because we don't want them having any previous or preconceived notions of what their weight should look like compared to others, because like we're all different and we all have different genetics and there's a lot that goes into it. So eating a healthy breakfast is one way that just we can know that for kids, it's going to help them maintain a healthy weight over time since they're eating more balanced meals and getting more nutrients throughout the day that are spread out instead of all at once. So eating a healthy breakfast can, like we said, it kickstarts the body's metabolism, gets them moving and gets them going in the morning. It converts that food or the fuel to usable energy that the kids can use during the day. And it leads to less snacking mid-morning and overeating at lunch. So these are all three reasons why the preschool age children or young children in daycare will be able to maintain a healthy weight just by eating a consistent breakfast every day. Okay, next slide.
And then Haley, I just wanted to, if I just have most people, it looks like, are able to see the slides right now. If for some reason you can't, just send me a message and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this slide here, so now we're going to look at the other side of things. So we talked about the benefits of why kids should eat a healthy breakfast. Now we're going to look at some of the reasons or some of the things that happen if they skip breakfast. So a lot of times, I guess to start out, some kids, you might hear them say, I'm not hungry or I don't feel like eating. But it's still really important to just make sure that they eat something in the morning, because if they don't eat anything, like we said, coming off of that fast, sleeping throughout the night, they don't have any nutrients or any fuel. So the body doesn't get the fuel it needs if they don't eat breakfast in the morning. Their energy levels will drop. They'll have higher blood cholesterol levels. And like Mary was talking about too, their blood sugar levels are going to be really inconsistent. They might have that spike in blood sugar levels, which we really don't want to see in kids at this age. The children, they'll become deficient in their daily nutrients, which means they have to catch up and eat more at lunch or dinner to get their daily nutrient requirements. And this is not something we necessarily want to do. We want to spread it out more throughout the day. And then without any breakfast, they're going to feel their tummies rumbling. They might feel tired, restless, irritable. They might not be as focused during school. And so these are all things that we would just rather not see from children. We want them to be energized and happy and ready to learn instead. Okay, next slide. Some other negative effects to go along with that, like we touched on a little bit. It's harder for them to focus with no breakfast. Their creativity and their problem-solving skills might go down, which would equate to lower test scores, or when it's time for them to perform in the classroom or in daycare or whenever, they're just not able to if they're hungry. And the bottom one here, it may contribute to overweight and obesity. So this is kind of an early sign that if they're not eating breakfast, this could lead to overweight or obese behaviors like throughout the rest of their life. Because at this age, it's so important to get them started the right way so that they know how to eat healthy and eat 3 meals a day for the rest of their childhood and as they grow into adults.
And I think there's some research that also shows that kids who have breakfast have less likelihood of developing binge eating disorder and kind of a binge eating behaviors as they get older, because they're more consistent with their meal times and those patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like we talked about, it's just very important to try and make it a routine. So kids should know that, when they get up in the morning, they get dressed, they eat breakfast, they brush their teeth, they go off to school. And if they are not eating, if they decide to skip breakfast, it's like something's not right. Like they need to know that that's what they expect to do every morning that they wake up. So like Mary said, this leads us into our next slide. These kids who skip breakfast are more likely to become overweight. Not saying that they will be, but it increases their chances or their likelihood of becoming overweight, because that with no breakfast in the morning or nothing to eat, they become extremely hungry by lunch. They might eat more food than they normally would at lunch. They might want to just overindulge in snacks, or they just eat anything they see just because they're hungry. And then like going longer periods of time throughout the night and then not eating throughout the morning, this over time can lower their metabolism. So they aren't as energetic, and they aren't as active, and they aren't as ready to play as they might be otherwise. Okay, next slide. Okay, so our second poll here, if you wouldn't mind selecting which answer you think here. Our question is, which of the following show 2 benefits of eating a healthy breakfast? So we just kind of went over this. So pick the one that you think are the 2 main benefits of what children will experience by eating a healthy breakfast.
We'll give you about 20 seconds more. Okay.
All right. We'll see how we did. Okay, good. It looks like most of you selected the correct answer here. The correct answer is B. 2 benefits of eating a healthy breakfast include it helps maintain a healthy weight for the children, and also helps increase their focus and concentration throughout the day. So good. All right, we'll move on to the next slide. All right, so our second objective of this presentation is what constitutes a healthy breakfast. So we're going to look at what are the food groups and some examples of what a healthy breakfast might look like. Okay, like I said, kids need something for breakfast every day, but anything is better than nothing. I'll just make sure I say that. It's important to have something, but what they eat is actually crucial. So a healthy breakfast that follows the CACFP guidelines will include a grain, a vegetable or a fruit, and a milk or a dairy product. So it's important to note, though, however, that as of, I think this was changed in October of 2017, health care providers and daycare providers can now give children a meat or meat alternative in place of the grain on 3 days a week. So this includes like Oh, like bacon or sausage, or I guess eggs are also considered dairy, but that would also be a meat or a meat alternative protein source.
So I
So
think that
these three main food groups are what we want to focus on in a healthy breakfast for kids.
I think in a CACFP program, it would be a meat, peanut butter, or rather than the bacon or the sausage in the CACFP program as your meat or meat alternative.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. That is something I guess I wasn't as familiar with, but this here shows basically some of the serving sizes of how much that they would need, and it shows the changes here that took place. I think might be missing. Oh, compared to the old to the new. So here, if you focus on like towards the right, for grains, now they're looking at 1 ounce equivalent instead of 1 serving. So that is the only new change that happened within the recent years. So just a chart showing that. I wasn't going to touch on it for very long, but the main things is we just want a dairy or milk product, vegetable or fruit, and then a whole grain for a healthy breakfast. Okay. All right, so first we're going to focus on the grain group. Grains keep the children fueled and provide them with lots of energy. So in grains, there's these things called complex carbohydrates, which contain vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So these are all important nutrients that children need during the day. A specific goal that you may or may not have heard of is to make half of your grains whole. So we want to focus on whole grains rather than refined grains. So these whole grains are what will keep children satisfied and help lower their risk of things like obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And so on the next slide, we'll look at what some examples of whole grains are and the serving sizes here. Okay, so here's a chart for how much like girls and boys, it doesn't really differ too much at this age, but it's important to note as well, like the different age groups and how much. As they get older, obviously they're going to require a little bit more. Throughout the day, children need small amounts of grains regularly to help maintain their energy. So we want to spread these out from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so breakfast is obviously a big part of it. And like I said, we want to be mindful of refined grain intake and instead include whole grain sources at breakfast. Okay. And just before, I guess I shouldn't have told her to click it too soon, but some examples of whole grains would include like whole grain muffins or whole grain toast or anything like that where you can tell on the food label that it says 100% whole grain. So some cereals contain whole grain. Other cereals, they'll say they have grains, but if they don't have that 100% whole grain on the food label, then they're most likely a refined grain or a combination. Okay, next slide.
So a refined grain is when they've taken off the outer coating, which is the fiber, and they've taken off the endosperm, which is the part that has the vitamins and minerals. And so the carbohydrate's the same, but you're just not getting that benefit of the fiber and some of those great vitamins and minerals when you get the whole grains that are important for our GI health as well as not managing our blood sugar control, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So the main thing with those whole grains is they contain a lot more fiber than refined grains do. And so in children, we really want them to keep their fiber. We want them to be able to up their fiber intake and get enough of those servings throughout the day. Okay, and then our second category here for what constitutes a healthy breakfast is fruit sources. It can be interchanged with vegetables, but at this age, children really do need a lot of fruit. So fruit is a good source of potassium, vitamin C, folate, and fiber, just like whole grains are. Fruit contains antioxidants, especially in vitamins, or they provide vitamin C, which helps boost immune systems and helps children fight off disease and inflammation. So things as simple as if they scrape their knee playing outside, or they have open cuts or wounds, being able to, or it will heal quicker if they're able to consume fruit rather than something else. So fruits give us those antioxidants and immune boosting nutrients that we need. And then fiber, just like we talked about in the whole grains, helps keep our digestive system and our stomachs healthy, and also keeps their bowel system or bowel movements regular and prevents constipation. Okay, next slide. So fruit lowers the risk of chronic disease. It helps promote the children's growth and development. And it's important to note, I think, too, that children need about 2 servings of fruit per day. And this doesn't have to all be at breakfast. Like I said, it can be spread throughout the day, but it's good to just at least get maybe 1 serving or half a serving or something at breakfast. Okay. All right, and so I included a chart here of what a serving size looks like. So when we say 1 serving, it doesn't always mean 1 cup. So it depends on the type of fruit. So for example, like applesauce, 1 serving of applesauce equals 1 cup. And then if we look at, so like for instance, dried fruit. I know these usually, if you want to give children dried fruit, it should be in smaller portions. They don't need as much because only 1 serving of dried fruit is only half a cup. So it's important to focus more on these whole fruits up top, like apples, oranges, grapes, where you can have more of them, because like these ones here, they show like 1 serving equals an entire cup. So this means they can have more of them.
So in thinking about the CACFP program, each age group is going to have a specific, so younger children, a serving may be 1/4 of a cup. So, continue to work with your CACFP meal plan, but this is talking about kind of when we talk about 2 servings a day based on these serving sizes. But for the CACFP program, that's what we would go through, is those serving sizes for your meal planning.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And so then that's why I included a picture there on the right to kind of show you what, based on the 2 servings per day, what 1 of these servings would look like. So yeah, so there you have it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the importance of fiber. Whole grains, fruits, and vegetables all contain fiber, and it's very important for children to get enough of this throughout the day, because like we said, it keeps them full and satisfied, helps prevent constipation, and keeps their blood sugar levels, their hearts healthy, and their digestive systems flowing and moving and working correctly after they eat a meal. So a good source of fiber, because there are lots of things that are, like we said, with whole grains, fruits, and vegetables that are good sources of fiber. So this means that they will contain 2.5 grams per serving of fiber. So we want to look for that specifically. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then here's just some fiber needs for children I outlined in a chart format. I think for most of you, being daycare or health providers for children, you'll focus more on the younger ages here. But it just kind of shows the difference between boys and girls as they age. At a super young age, they're about the same. They don't really require, the boys don't require very much more, but as they get older, you can see that as boys grow and develop differently from girls and vice versa, there's a little bit of a difference there.
And a lot of that difference is because a boy's calorie needs generally are higher. So that percentage of their calorie needs, their percentage of fiber is higher because of their calorie needs are going to be elevated. So that's what a lot of this is, the fiber difference is from, is their calorie differences are exist between a male and a female.
Mm-hmm. And that continues too as they get older and age and become adults, and even older adults. Men always need just a little bit more because they grow a lot bigger and taller and stronger, and so it's just kind of how it is. But yeah, so it's important to note at a young age there really is no difference until they really start to develop and grow into young adults. Okay. All right, so just like we talked about how important whole grains and fruit are, dairy is the 3rd component of what a healthy breakfast is based on the CACFP guidelines. And so dairy is important because it contains calcium, which is an essential nutrient for kids because it helps them build and maintain strong bones and teeth. So right away from the get-go, we want them to be able to have enough calcium. That's why babies they need a lot of milk when they're born, because that's the best way for them to grow and to keep developing. So and then, like I said, it helps with build stronger teeth too, because when their kids are super young, they're teething, they're growing, their teeth are growing, they're losing teeth and forming new teeth. So we want to have their teeth and their dental health as good as it can be. So dairy helps a lot with this. So milk or dairy sources also contain vitamin D, which it's kind of a complicated process of how it helps the body absorb calcium. But dairy also provides protein, iodine, riboflavin, and vitamin B12 nutrients, which are all important for children to get. So, and then dairy, of course, provides healthy fats that are needed for brain power and focus to help children continue to grow and develop and learning during their play day or their school day, either of those. So the next slide. Okay, so yep, we'll show some recommendations here. So there's really no difference between boys and girls at a super young age for how much dairy or how much calcium they need, but the daily recommendation for 2 to 3 year olds is 2 cups. As they grow and develop, they're going to need more, obviously. So when they get to be about 4 to 8 years old, they need 2.5 cups. And between the ages of 9 to 18, they're going to need at least 3 cups of dairy per day. So the best sources of calcium, or the ones that have the most calcium per serving, are milk, yogurt, and cheese. So focus on these, and there's lots of different ways you can incorporate these at breakfast. Okay. Protein is also important. We're just going to touch on this briefly, but the main thing with protein that I want you guys to know is that it helps build and repair muscles, and it helps with hormones as children grow and develop. It gives them the essential nutrients such as zinc, magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin E, and it also contains iron, which is crucial for children during this period of time as to expand their blood volume and as they grow. So protein sources, we can focus a little bit, like I said, on those at breakfast, but good protein sources for kids are any type of lean meat, cheese, eggs, yogurt's good, peanut butter, those types of things. So keep that in mind as well. Okay,
protein in breakfast tends to keep them full a little bit longer, satisfied, and also helps a little bit with blood sugar control, which is nice too.
Yep. Okay, and then here's a chart too that shows the protein needs for children. So again, protein varies quite a bit throughout the lifespan, but when children are young and they're growing and developing, it's roughly about the same for boys and girls. And a lot of this depends too on how, like genetics, as you get older, how muscular you are, how much physical activity you have. So it becomes a lot more variable as they age. But at a young age, it's just important to have a general baseline or a guideline as to how much they need. So like I said, the best sources of protein are lean meats, eggs, low-fat dairy or milk, nut butters, things like peanut butter. And then, so incorporate protein, spread it out throughout the day for children. It's really important for them to get protein with their meals. Okay, so that brings us to our third poll question. So if you guys would take a minute to answer this, that would be great. So I ask here, what are the 3 main food groups that we talked about that are important for children to consume with their breakfast? I might add too that all of these are very important food groups, but we're just wanted to see if you could remember the 3 that are the most important for young children to get at breakfast. Okay, Nice. I see we had 100% correct answers. And as you know, the correct answer here is D, dairy, grains, and fruit. So nice job, everybody. That is awesome. All right, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so here's where we get into the fun part. I'm going to talk a little bit about some healthy breakfast examples. And so you might be familiar with some of these, you might not. But again, we're going to be focusing on the food groups, dairy, fruit, and grains. And I included one of those with each of these meals that are great ideas for kids to have for breakfast. So first, I'll just kind of go through them individually. Whole grain cereal topped with berries, and then a glass of milk. So obviously with cereal, most children are going to have milk anyway. It's just, like I said, a great way to get calcium. Whole grain cereal is the key here. Not just any cereal. There's lots of different types of cereals out there, and we'll touch on that later in the presentation, but whole grain cereal will get them that good source of grain that they need. Second on here, we have a whole grain waffle topped with a banana and peanut butter, and then a glass of milk. So peanut butter gives them that good source of protein. Banana is the fruit source. The whole grain waffle is their grain source. So this is a healthier or a better option than just syrup, chocolate chips, and peanut butter. So you contain some extra fruit here, and then you get the whole grains as well. Another example, cheesy scrambled eggs, whole wheat French toast topped with strawberries, and then a glass of milk. The cheesy scrambled eggs, the cheese in the eggs will give them a good source of dairy and protein, complemented with the milk. Strawberries is the fruit source, and then the whole grain is the whole wheat French toast. The last example on this page is whole wheat pancakes with berries, low-fat bacon, and chocolate milk. Whole wheat pancakes, that's the grain source. Berries is the fruit source. Like I said, we don't have to always promote bacon, but you know, it's okay to have some of it once in a while, especially children at these age are growing and developing. That would be protein source, and then chocolate milk is the dairy source. Okay, next slide. All right, some other examples. Actually, one of my personal favorites is a breakfast burrito. It's kind of like you can get it all in one. So a good breakfast burrito will contain diced ham, eggs, hash browns, shredded cheese, things like bell peppers, tomatoes, black olives, onions, whatever you desire, whatever your kids like. And then make sure to wrap it in a whole wheat tortilla so they get that good source of grains. And then you can serve it with some type of fruit, such as apple slices, whole apple, sliced strawberries, bananas, anything like that would be good. Another option here is oatmeal with almonds and cinnamon, and then sliced peaches on the side with a glass of milk. So oatmeal here is the really good, the source of grains that we want. Almonds, that provides healthy fats and also protein. Nuts contain good protein. Cinnamon's just for flavor. Sliced peaches is the fruit, and then glass of milk that gives them the dairy source they need. Again, we have another whole grain cereal option that you can pair with pineapple chunks or any kind of fruit really for that matter, and then making sure they drink milk with that as well. And then our last example on the page here is a whole wheat bagel topped with really anything, like in moderation. But sometimes what I like to do is on a whole wheat bagel, you can put like avocado or tomato. You can make a good breakfast sandwich with like a hard fried egg. Orange slices can go with that as the fruit option. And then a glass of milk gives them that dairy source that they need to drink. So here in the picture, you can kind of see what a good little sample of a breakfast might be. I just kind of included that. There's some strawberries there. There's pancakes with strawberries, a glass of milk. Yeah, so just keep in mind, we just want to make sure we have those three sources: dairy, fruit, and whole grains.
And I love how the breakfast burrito is great, and that's, we do know that when we use eggs in the morning, we can, or like a breakfast burrito, that's a great way to add veggies. And we know when people eat veggies earlier in the day, they're more likely to get in more veggies throughout the day. And I think with the oatmeal, that's such a great, kids love oatmeal. And I think It doesn't really matter what type of, if it's steel cut oats or old fashioned, quick oats, they're all whole grain. And so, we just want to make sure it's not the packages that have sugar added to them. We want to use just the dry, regular oats and then add your own flavoring. But you can add either a steel cut oat or, that may be a little harder for kids to eat. So sometimes the old fashioned or the quick oats tend to be a little bit easier for kids to chew. But any of those are going to be still considered whole grains.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you can also add milk or water, like if the oatmeal's a little too thick, or if you want to thin it out a little bit more, you can always add milk or water to it to improve the consistency as well. Okay, and here's a few more examples. So we talked about the bagel already, but another great thing you can put on top of the bagel for the kids is peanut butter. Kids they love peanut butter. It's a great source of protein. Diced pears or a sliced pear is a great fruit option to mix it up, and then a glass of milk. Breakfast smoothies, I love breakfast smoothies. They're one of my favorite things to have in the morning. But what we put into our breakfast smoothie is really crucial. So low-fat milk, good source of dairy. Yogurt, another good source of dairy and protein. You could put frozen fruit in there. Regular fruit, and then you could top with granola if your kids desire. That'd be a good source of grains to get with the smoothie. But overall, that's a really healthy fruit option. Similar to the breakfast burrito, we have egg omelets. So these are great because, again, they provide a good source of veggies. Sometimes if your kids don't really like veggies, putting them in an omelet is a good way to hide them or just so they don't see them as much. Because sometimes, if you just put a whole bunch of broccoli or vegetables on a plate, the kids aren't gonna want to eat them. So putting them in an omelet, hiding them with other things is a great way to sneak in those extra veggies. So yeah, then include some shredded cheese, bell peppers, anything like that, diced ham. You can add a whole grain English muffin. Make sure it says whole grain because that's a lot different from just a white or a refined grain English muffin. And then diced cantaloupe is another good fruit option to add some color to this meal here. And then our last one, 2 hard-boiled eggs, grapes, sausage patty if necessary, and then a glass of milk. So all these are great options for kids that they might grow to like, or some of them might be new options. Maybe they've never tried them before, but that's okay. Sometimes kids need a lot of variety and something new to try as well. Okay. Even more, we have some more options here. There's a nice little picture over to the side that shows fruit, grains, and dairy. You can kind of tell there's a glass of milk there, and then also some eggs for protein. Like we talked about, avocado, egg, and tomato toast is another great option to include vegetables. Breakfast potatoes are a good source of grains, help provide energy and good carbohydrates for your kids to stay focused and energized throughout the day. Greek yogurt with mixed fruit and almonds or walnuts is a good source of fruit and dairy. And then another one of my favorite snacks that I do for myself is you can slice up an apple or a banana and then put peanut butter on top of it and then sprinkle it with oats or cinnamon. That's an awesome snack that will definitely fill your kids up and keep them satisfied during the day. Okay, next slide. All right, and then here's just some pictures that I put together of some of these examples that we talked about. So up top, you can see the oatmeal. Here in the middle, the top middle, we have the avocado, egg, and tomato toast. Here's some French toast, some whole grain French toast with fruit. Here's a berry smoothie. There's an egg omelet kind of down in the left. The bottom middle is a yogurt and fruit parfait with some granola. And then in the middle, that shows a nice whole grain bagel with peanut butter and some strawberries. And on the right middle there, it's just kind of a reminder to keep it fun. That's one of the things I want to stress too. At this age, we want to encourage eating and we want children to be excited about mealtime and being able to eat with others and eat some good foods that they like. So we want to try and keep it fun and as positive as we can in their eating environment. And so, yeah, all right, so ready for the next slide? Okay, and then here's just some more examples. I showed more of on a plate what it might look like. Obviously, this depends on the age level of the children that you have that you're working with. But a good idea is to include these plates that have separators if possible. Sometimes this really helps with serving size and being able to know exactly how much they need. And it also presents the food in a way that children can see the different colors and the textures. Helps make it fun. All right, next slide. Okay, so now after we talked about all the foods that we really want to encourage children to be eating at breakfast with those healthy breakfast ideas, now we're going to look at some types of food that we should try to avoid. Even though a lot of these are super yummy and we all love to have these once in a while, it's really important that we try and steer our children away from them as much as possible, just so they don't get into a habit of always wanting to eat these types of foods for breakfast. So things like Pop-Tarts, donuts, sugary cereals, toaster strudels, anything that comes out of a box in the freezer is probably not going to be your best option. As much as I personally love coffee cake, that is not probably a great idea for kids to have for breakfast. There's a lot of extra calories and carbs and sugar and everything we don't really want them to have early on in the morning. So try and avoid that if possible. And something as simple as, there's lots of foods such as pancakes and French toast and waffles. Those are great breakfast food items, but they can turn into becoming very unhealthy or bad or sugary breakfast foods if we just keep adding extra syrup and sugar and all that types of things. So there's ways to make them healthier, but adding syrup on top and adding extra sugar is not the healthiest. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here's a little bit of information about breakfast cereals that I think is important. So although we sometimes see breakfast cereal as being healthy and containing whole grains, which is true, there are plenty of breakfast cereals out there that actually contain more sugar in one serving than 3 chocolate chip cookies would provide in one serving. So it's very important when you're looking at cereal and you're giving kids cereal to eat for breakfast that you look at what type or what kind of cereal it is and you read that nutrition facts label to know what kind of nutrients they will be getting in their cereal. So cereal packages sometimes say things like it contains whole grains, or it's a good source of a specific vitamin or a nutrient. But we want to be careful with this, like I said, because a lot of these cereals can be extremely highly processed, which means they aren't natural. They were made or something was added to them to where they were fortified. And so they really, in reality, they might only contain a small amount of whole grains instead of a good source like we want them to have at breakfast. So that's just important to know. We just want to make sure we read the nutrition facts label and look for good sources of whole grains. And we want to make sure they contain fiber and protein and that kind of thing, instead of added sugar, saturated fat, and excess carbohydrates. Okay, next slide. So here are some examples, and I'm guilty of this as well. I personally love all these cereals, except for maybe Fruit Loops, but that's why I put them down there, because when growing up, for me, I had no idea. I really didn't know. And being an athlete and being super active all the time, it really didn't matter. But if I wouldn't have studied this or came to college and majored in dietetics and started to invest in my health, I would have probably kept on that same eating track all through the rest of my young adulthood and into my adult years. So it's really important at this age. It's okay for children to have these cereals maybe occasionally once in a while, but this is not a habit that we want to get into for them eating these every day. So these 4 cereals that I show here, along with many others, contain mostly refined grains, which means they're not whole grains. So they're processed grains, and they contain a ton of extra added sugar. So next time you're in the store, maybe this is something you're familiar with already, but if you're not, I encourage you to just look at a nutrition facts label on any of these types of fun and colorful cereals, and you will see, look at the added sugar content, look at the saturated fat content, just look at how the difference between that and what a healthier cereal would look like. So you might be mind blown, because I know that I was when I first saw it. So the reason why we don't want kids to have these cereals is mainly because of the added sugar, which over time, consuming extra sugar increases their risk of having heart problems, diabetes, obesity, becoming overweight, and then it limits the amount of quality nutrients that they should be receiving at breakfast instead. So avoid these types of cereals for your kids if at all possible. Okay, and so then these don't look quite as fun, but these are the types of cereals that would be better options or for your children, or they would provide better or more quality nutrients that we want them to have at breakfast. So these are the ones that are going to fuel their brain, give them that brain power to last throughout the morning, help them perform well on exams as they get older and get into grade school, high school, and college. Help them set those eating habits now so that they can continue on this path as they get older. And so these are the types of cereals that contain good quality, complex carbohydrates. They're good sources of fiber, and they keep them fueled and energized throughout the day. So look for these next time you're in the store. And I would also encourage you to look at the added sugar content on these types of cereals. And I guarantee that you'll see it is much less, substantially less from what those other sugary cereals would show.
Absolutely. And the WIC guidelines, all the WIC approved cereals are also approved for CA-CFP as having the low sugar, high fiber, whole grain qualifications that we're looking for. So just look at the WIC has a list of appropriate cereals that you can use for the CA-CFP program.
Okay, so here are some important healthy tips to kind of sum up again here. We want to focus on whole fruits and vegetables and whole grains, low-fat dairy, and lean meats. So those three keywords there that I have in all capitalized letters. Those are the important words that we like to focus on. Also, like we talked about too, in place of adding extra sugar and syrup and all that yummy stuff onto our pancakes and waffles, try adding fruit instead. Oftentimes this will satisfy those sugar cravings, because fruits do have sugar, contain sugar in them, but it's healthier and it's a little bit better option than just adding syrup and regular sugar. Like we just mentioned on the previous slide, we want to look for whole grain cereals and whole grain oatmeal, and then add in fruit, nuts, and spices for flavor instead of buying it already flavored in the box. So we want to be able to add in our own extra toppings, and that's a much healthier option. Add veggies whenever possible, things like omelets, breakfast burritos, avocado egg toast with tomatoes. Those are great ways to add in extra veggies for your kids. And then vary it up. Kids really like to see, especially at such a young age, like I said, we want to incorporate a positive eating environment. We want to make eating fun and not something that could lead to problems down the road. So we really want to try different colors, different shapes, mix in different foods, make fun faces on toasts or pancakes, things like that. Anything to just make it fun and visually appealing for the kids that you're looking after. All right, and then next slide. So our main message here, to sum up, make sure your children eat a balanced and healthy breakfast. We want to focus on the food groups of grains, dairy, and fruit, specifically whole grains instead of refined grains. And then you can also substitute one protein source for grains a few times a week if needed. Okay. All right, so that brings us to our next poll question. We're already on our fourth one. So here I gave you an opportunity to look at these examples, and I want you to be able to select the best example of what a healthy breakfast would look like for your kids. So you're going to serve them a breakfast. Which one of these four, after what you learned in the previous slide, which one would you choose? Awesome. All right. So got the results in, and it looks like all of you chose the correct answer. That's awesome. Can be a little sneaky in there. There's some healthier options towards we can go through them, but yeah, the correct answer was A, whole wheat toast with peanut butter, sliced bananas, and a glass of milk. So whole wheat toast, that gives them their whole grain. Peanut butter gives them that good source of protein. Sliced bananas, there's the good fruit source, and then a glass of milk, that's their dairy for breakfast. So in the other options here, scrambled eggs, those are great. Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, not as good, kind of more of a sugary cereal. Apple juice, again, it's okay for kids to have once in a while, but it's not that whole fruit source, so it's not going to have the same nutrients that they need. Pancakes with syrup, that's okay, but when you pair it with 3 slices of bacon, that's probably not the greatest option because you're missing a fruit, you're missing vegetables, so you just don't get all of the 3 food groups that you would like. And then the fourth one, it might be kind of obvious. I think we want to try and avoid donuts for kids. And then a yogurt parfait is a great option, but probably not paired with a donut. So, all right. So great job, everybody. Really good there. Next slide. Okay, so this brings us to my third objective for this presentation. We're going to look at some cost-saving tips, some good ideas here with that, and then also provide you with some simple recipes for you to take home.
Okay, and we only have about 2 more minutes, so we'll just kind of go through these, and these are all on the handout section. So if you want to go in and download those handouts, so you have these great, very colorful recipes that Haley put together.
Yep, so feel free to try any of these. Like I said, there's lots of great options here. And here's one. It's called Apple Granola Stackers. We'll just keep going through them, I guess. We'll just read them off. Mini apple pizzas. This one is really, really good. I just did it for a food demo last week. I highly encourage this one. I think it's a great snack.
Yep, just watch out for your age groups as far as choking hazards, but for our older kiddos, they can put that together and enjoy that.
Yep. And these can always be cut up too, if needed. So you can cut up, like here, egg and tomato toast, great source of vegetables and whole grains. You can cut the toast in half, make it into smaller bite-sized pieces if necessary. Lots of things you can do with it. Fruit and yogurt parfaits. This is a great snack. Very healthy, contains a lot of good fruit. Okay, and healthy French toast. You'll see in the picture, it has some fruit on top. Might have a little bit of syrup or honey, but it doesn't contain powdered sugar, syrup, brown sugar, all those things. So we want to keep it a little bit healthier with adding that fruit on top. All right, and here's the breakfast burrito. You can tell it contains some vegetables and some eggs. Great option to get kind of everything all in one. And some healthy oatmeal with fruit and nuts. Great source of grains, fruits, and protein and healthy fats. Applesauce muffins. These are great. I don't know of any child or any kid that would not like these. Muffin. It's a healthier muffin, basically, with containing apples, applesauce, and I think it's a great thing that you can have for snack or for breakfast for your kids.
You just want to watch out for the tree nuts if you have tree nut allergies in there.
Yep. All right, and whole grain banana pancakes. These are great too. It ensures that you're serving them a whole grain pancake, as well as topping it with some healthy mixed fruit.
And once again, just make sure you be aware of those tree nut allergies.
Yep. All right, and then vegetable scrambled eggs. This is awesome. Another way to kind of hide the veggies if you need to for kids. Another colorful, fun food item that you can put on their breakfast plate. It gives you a good source of protein and nutrients from the vegetables. Okay, some quick cost-saving tips. We want to spend our money wisely on healthy, nutritious foods. Try and plan out the menu, or at least what you're going to make for your kids, at least maybe a week ahead of time, so you have time to grocery shop. So buy enough to last a week. Can avoid going to the grocery store every day and having to pick out things. So try and do like a one-stop shop. Make sure you check local sale ads. There's lots of good deals that you can find in there at the local grocery store, or even places like Hy-Vee or Walmart or Super Saver. And then buy things like eggs, cheese, vegetables, anything like that. Buy them in bulk so that you can use them for more than just one thing or more than one breakfast dish.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Haley. It doesn't
Yeah,
look like
there might be one more. Whoops. Sorry.
You.
Okay, a couple more points. Make sure we're buying fresh fruits that are in season. Typically, those are going to be a lot cheaper than fruits that are out of season. For instance, right now, blueberries and strawberries are extremely expensive. So focus on things like apples or bananas. And then when summer comes around, buy all the watermelon, cantaloupe, berries, all those good berry fruits.
Yeah, our citrus fruits are in season right now.
Oh,
citrus fruits are in season right now, so those are great right now.
Yeah. Yep. Pineapple's another good option. It's sometimes hard if you don't know how to cut a pineapple. It can be difficult, but pineapple's another great fruit that I think kids will enjoy. When you're let's see, make use of dinner leftovers or anything from the day before, so we don't have food waste. And we want to purchase as much fresh food items as we can. Limit when you're buying perishable items or things that are in boxes, such as cereal, make sure that you're going to use them and that they're not going to just sit there and get old or go to waste. And then make use of the refrigerator and the freezer. Place all your extras in there just so we don't have any food spoiling or food waste and that kind of thing. So those are all going to help you save money and be more cost effective in the long run. Okay, next slide. All right, so our last poll question here.
I don't think I have this poll up there. I don't think they have that poll. So we'll just go to the end.
Oh.
How does that sound?
Okay. Sounds good. That too. All right, so that concludes my presentation, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you maybe learned a few things here and there, and I hope if we were going to take that poll that we started at the start of this session, I hope you would feel a lot more confident now at what a healthy breakfast looks like. So yeah, just know that you guys you're valued, and your children are really dependent upon a good, healthy breakfast, and you guys have the opportunity and the power to provide them that good source of nutrition so that they can continue those healthy habits on throughout the rest of their lives. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley. Thanks so much. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now, and I think we are going to be concluding this part of the presentation. And then it looks like Sarah is going to take over, and she is going to, Sarah, I'm gonna add you as I'll give you requested. I'm gonna give you power to take over. So Sarah, why don't you let me know if you are on board and if you have any questions. And Haley, thanks so much. And I appreciate all the time that you spent putting this presentation together for our child care providers.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Haley, are you there? Or Sarah, are you there? Sarah, can you hear us? Can everybody hear us? Let me see. Okay. I should have just unmuted everybody. Let's see. Did that? Can you hear? Okay. Is that Sarah? Sarah? Sarah, can you hear? Who is there? Who can I hear? Who can hear me?
Peggy Townsend.
Okay, are you the only one that can hear? Can anyone else hear?
I can hear. I'm Sarah Danielson.
Okay, is it Sarah Birkby? Is she on here? Sarah Birkby, can she hear? No?
Julie Klaus is here.
Let me see if I can. I'm still unmuted, she said. Let me.
Marla Osick is here. Let me get this lady to talk. Sure.
Sarah, are you there? Okay, now Sarah, try it. Sarah, are you there?
Oh, hello?
Are you there? Sarah?
I am. Hello? Yes?
Everybody?
Can everyone hear me? I don't even.
I'll send
Yeah.
that message. Yeah, everybody can hear you.
Carrie, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Carrie?
Hello?
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 There you are.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, through the computer?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Oh Lord, this is embarrassing. Hi guys, it's Carrie Gibbs, still the secretary, and Sarah Birkby, our new vice president.
Hello?
Can you all still hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry, bear with us. This is something new. I'm not good at technology. We just kind of wanted to touch on, we're going to do an incentive type of thing, kind of get more activities for us to do as a group to kind of get the group revived, I guess, or like find new members, get out into the community, all that stuff. So we're going to try and do a challenge that Sarah found, and I will let her explain.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is not the best week to kick this off because of these Antarctic temperatures we have going. But no worries, this goes through the month of May. But we are gonna challenge everyone to do 100 hours outside. We have a tracker that Carrie will be emailing everyone. You can print it off or you can just keep it on your phone and just keep track of the minutes or hours that you guys play outside. And then we will draw names for gift cards to Walmart, Amazon.
Yeah, we hadn't decided yet, but you'll get a
Yeah,
surprise.
like
So
surprise.
yeah,
But a gift card for getting outside these 100 hours between maybe not this week or next week, but hopefully soon through the month of May. So, yay.
also we had they sent us door prizes. So if you get an email from me from the KCCA, you were a lucky winner of a door prize tonight. So I will be contacting you to let you know that you were a winner, and either Tasha or I will be dropping that off to you. If you would prefer it be contactless, we can drop it in your mailbox. Whatever you decide, I will get in touch with you through email though. So be looking at that.
Yes, and thank you, Mary, for donating all those.
Yes. And I think that's all we had for now.
Yep,
That's
yep, I think so. Our next meeting is February 22nd with Adam talking about new legislation for childcare. So watch for that email also.
awesome.
Yep.
So at the end of the webinar, when I end the webinar, a survey will pop up because I think you guys are all new to GoToWebinar. So a survey will pop up, and in order to get credit and for me to send out a certificate, the survey does need to be completed. So the survey, so I will end the webinar. As soon as I end the webinar, you don't do anything on your end. As soon as I end the webinar, the survey will pop up on your computer. It may take a few seconds. And then just complete that. It only takes about a minute or 2 minutes at the most, and then just submit it. And that way I'll have records that you completed it, that you participated in the polls, and then within, by tomorrow at 7 p.m., I will verify everything and send you a certificate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks for being flexible, trying a new platform, and I hope
Yes.
you guys all, for all of us, we're all just trying to figure out this technology. So I appreciate your the beginning, and I hope you all enjoyed Haley's presentation.
Deb, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. I'm going to end the webinar right now then.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.